This meeting is being recorded.
What's up, everybody? The Bodhi Bros are back again with another video review. I'm Phoenix Ray.
And I am John with a J.
And today we have a video by Bruce Lipton, Money and Energy. Take it away, John with a J.
Dun, dun, dun. Money and Energy.
What did you think of this video?
I thought that I needed to find out more about Mr. Lipton. Doctor?
Okay.
Is it Dr. Lipton? I think it's Doctor.
I think so, but I'm not 100%.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it is.
So I looked it up, and the first word that popped up was epigenetics, which boom linked me directly to Dr. Joe Dispenza and that whole group of theory, thought, understanding, belief, et cetera, et cetera. But then, and I knew epigenetics was roughly about energy and your thoughts control, the movie that you're watching in front of you, and you can alter your DNA and all this stuff. But I wanted to find a layman's term. So I just Googled, like I did for this background, I Googled money and energy and got this little.
Yeah, I never heard of that term. I know, obviously this video is about money and energy, and I know we did a review of Joe Dispenza before. We did one of his videos.
Yeah, that was a really popular show too.
Yeah, so I know they're both these people are pretty popular.
And so
I never actually heard that term.
Yeah, so I Googled epigenetics layman's apostrophe S. And here we got a nice short definition for us, first and foremost, and for the audience, if you're not in the know. Your genes play an important role in your health, but so do your behaviors and environment, such as what you eat and how physically active you are. Pardons. Epigenetics is essentially the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Okay, so yeah, pretty basic. And this is a whole, it's not a new wave because this video is 11 years old, but I would say this is one of the newer thought models, practices, disciplines, I don't know, whatever label you want to smack on it, that came out of things that weren't working for folks, or that were very limiting as far as shadow work was concerned, and psychology, and so the epigenetics came out, fancy flashy new term, and new doctors, but Ray, it comes back simply to what we always talk about, or try to talk about: simplicity. And this whole video, albeit only 8 minutes long, talked about using money, using your energy, visualizing or coming onto the understanding and the awareness, very important word in epigenetics or just life in general, of treating your thoughts as currency, right? Mm-hmm. And he uses the whole checkbook. Imagine, you're not going to walk down the street and write a check to this guy and that girl and this person and them and there, and you're not going to do that because you're going to be broke at the end of the day. You're going to choose. Now, if you're super wealthy and you can do that, that's freaking fantastic. But even the wealthiest of wealthy, they can't spend and do that all day long because it'll deplete them, not just financially, but emotionally and just physically, snore, et cetera, et cetera. So here's my nutshell, and then take it away, and then maybe we can launch a discussion from this, but it's a pretty basic ass video. Just being super mindful of your thoughts, and do what we love to do it early in this episode, sprinkle loving awareness on them. Don't deny them, disown them, suppress them, whatever. But when they come up, ask yourself, is this worth investing in? Right? Mm-hmm. Is this going to pay off dividends for a brighter day, a brighter moment, a brighter future 10 years down the line? What value is this thought going to give to myself and or any other sentient being, or this planet? Fill in the blank of all the other possibilities. And so you can do that and be like, when worry comes up, because they address worry, right? And that's the number one thing I think as humans, fear and worry, hand in hand, walking down the street, and you can say, I want to walk that way. So I want to write my check, not for this over here. I want to write this energetic check for this thought. And maybe that's love. Maybe that's love, right? And I'm gonna take what was just happening here and withdraw my energetic check from that bank and deposit it into this bank. Sorry, my microphone's tripping. Into the bank of something else that feels like it's going to be healthier for me and ultimately create a more wealthy life for me and those around me. That's kind of what I got out of it. I don't know if there's anything.
I kind of got the same thing. I mean, what would that term? It seemed like, maybe they came up with that fancy term, but really that whole philosophy has been around for thousands of years. It's pretty much Zen, just given it a different name.
Right.
Being mindful of your thoughts. And yes, he draws the comparison between money and energy and using those together. And, just to kind of, because, a lot of people care about money a lot in the society, in case you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
So it's like, like, oh, wait, my thoughts are energy. And, using that to maybe kind of draw you in and kind of like, oh, okay, I could see how, I'm putting all my energy, I'm spending my money on these things that I can't change and I don't have any control over my life, and fighting internally. We get in those mind struggles and those little arguments when we're in the shower or whatever in our minds. And a lot of that is just because we take on other people's points of view other than our own, and then we end up arguing those on our side, our head, and all that stuff. And then we get we get depleted after a while. A lot of those things come up, and especially people, if we watch TV a lot, or if we're on our phones a lot, looking at all that stuff, Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff like that can get us agitated, because you see all these different points of view and all these things come at us and all this stuff, and it's just like, oh, in our heads. And sometimes we have to unplug and maybe take some time to meditate or some time in solitude and just unplug from all that stuff.
And so in that moment, what I hear that you're saying is that when you're scrolling or doing that, and it's not a healthy scroll, mind you, right? It's not one of those feel-good news feeds for whatever reason. The algorithm decides to either like elevate you or screw you that day, whatever. You're making a conscious decision in those scrolling moments to deposit into the bank of not so great.
Well, you think about even money, we pay attention. So we're paying attention.
Oh,
so we're using that energy, we're paying that attention, and we're depleting ourselves because we're paying attention to things that, can cause a lot of division and a lot of separation in us. And so we're using that energy. So we need to kind of maybe back off for that stuff a little bit, so we're not depleting ourselves or our life force.
Because then it goes hand in hand with that other cliche, right? You're writing checks your body can't cash, or something like that. Or Johnny Cash and what? I don't know. It's one of those.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, this was a very I think this is kind of a back to basics type of video.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, both of us know this. A lot of people know this stuff, but you know what though? Sometimes this could be one of those videos that you come across that you kind of like, you stumble upon, and it's like, even though you've maybe heard this stuff years ago and this is old stuff, sometimes it could hit you at the right time though, and give you a little bit of a refresher and be like, yeah, you know what? Hey, you know what? Maybe I do need to focus a little bit on, I do feel like a little divided in myself. I do feel depleted. Maybe I do need to check myself and kind of like, what am I, what are all these thoughts coming up, and why are these thoughts, why are these triggers coming up, and so much. And I'm, fighting with my own thoughts a lot, and maybe kind of give you, some self-examination and maybe some evaluation, and, bring yourself back to that place of loving awareness.
Sprinkle. I think every video that we review is it all keeps dialing back to the same thing that you just mentioned, man. They're gentle reminders. There's no mind-boggling discovery, new wave, new age, new anything, old school, new school, whatever words you want to put on the words. It's really just coming back to home and yourself, right? Like the answers are all there. I don't feel like we were shot onto this planet or born from the ground, or however you want to visualize it, screwed, and we had to figure it out. Like, oh, and then something or someone or some place is looking down on us going, you know, because
Well, could be,
you
could
think?
be, but yeah, I do think there are some spiritual traps for sure, for certain.
Well, no, I get, oh no, okay, I understand what you're saying there. I'm talking about like a lot of us that feel like we were born into a place where there's no, like we're just screwed. We're screwed.
Well,
It's a life
I
of,
think it goes back to like what he said with this video is your perception creates your reality.
right.
So you have this perception, I think like a big thing today in spirituality is the whole prison planet concept. A word is prison planet. Look at this. We have these people who are over us. We're getting taxed for this and taxed again for this, and everything is just like, and you can look in that perception that way. And I could easily see why people would think that this is a prison planet.
Right.
The way everything is and how we're controlled and how we're manipulated a lot in the media. 100%. And I think there is some layer of truth to that, but I don't take it as far as a lot of these other people do,
Right.
that this is a prison planet, but I mean, it's your perception though. And if you see it that way, if you see it totally that way, then that's how you're going to live. And what you're in, and if your perception like that and you perceive it, you're always going to see evidence for that.
Right. I
And
guess what
where
I'm
you're
trying,
looking, you're going to find that.
yeah, I guess what I was trying to say, maybe I didn't articulate it well, is no matter what you believe or what you feel about any and all of that, it really feels like a lot of time the answer is just, again, here's that word, in the simplicity of coming back to you and listening to
Yeah.
you. Because when you were born as a little baby, you did not view anything as a prison, anything. It was all spectacular joy and newness and glory and love and beauty, right? I mean, depending, of course, on your surrounding environments, but for the most part, when you're a baby, at least for the first few days or whatever, unless you're in the hospital going, oh, there's always caveats, folks, but you know what I mean, in general terms speaking here, like, and we can't return to that baby nature, and it probably wouldn't serve us well as, 40, 50, 60-year-old, 20, 30, 100-year-old adults to be walking around goo goo gaga and bumping into each other and not really getting anything done. But just a return to love, a return to innocence, the best we can, and being very, very mindful, because as babies we weren't, but as adults we can, because we're armed with this understanding now of these thoughts. And as I was watching the video three times today, I saw my thoughts a few times, dissociating, right? I was outside, it's really nice outside, or some other thought for business or personal came up or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, you're doing it. You're doing what he's talking about right here. You're deciding to take your check out of the bank of the present moment and the assignment in front of you and deposit into something that you cannot presently control. You cannot, you can hope, you can pray, and he does talk about that. He talks about worry. He quoted
I
the
actually have that
Bhagavan
right
Das,
here.
right? Yeah.
The
You have the
I
quote?
was kind of surprised to see a Bhagavan Das quote come up. You don't really hear him very much.
Yeah. Worry and
So,
pray.
because worrying is praying for what you don't want.
To
That's a
happen.
pretty good quote.
Yeah, right. And so we can do that. And in that moment today, doing my homework assignment for today's podcast, I put that practice to use. I was like, okay. I can't worry about this money or this job or what I'm doing here, what I'm building there, because that's not happening right now. What's happening right now is this video. And I had to rewind it because I missed. And we do this in social situations. We do this when we're just snuggling up on the couch with a loved one or something like that, or even reading a book. We allow ourselves to write checks for this bank that really doesn't serve us very well.
No.
I mean, banks in general, my gosh, maybe we need to put our energetic thoughts into a credit union. I don't know.
I don't know. That whole
So
system is messed up, but I see what you're saying. It's yeah, we have all these thoughts come up, and I mean, a lot of times those thoughts, obviously we can control our thoughts to some extent. If we all think of like an elephant, we could all visualize an elephant right now. But a lot of our thoughts are they just come up. It's almost like sometimes it's like a stream on the bottom of, the TV screen, the little ticker.
yeah.
And it's like, blah, 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 blah. It's like this little, or this like radio that's like on just a little bit. You can't turn it all the way off. And you kind of have to, like, sometimes it can a certain thought will come by and it will captivate you, and it will pull your awareness in. But you have to remember though, that you're not the thought. You're the awareness. You're the one that's aware of the thoughts. And that's what the true self is that awareness of the thoughts. And, once you become that, your whole life becomes a meditation. It's always coming back to the center. Is being aware, okay, I've drifted off. We're always going to drift off. I don't care who we're always going to drift off at some extent. And that's not the point. The point isn't that always try to, you're going to drift off. But when you realize that you've drifted off, and that coming back to center, that's really the most important part of a meditation.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the power, that gives you the muscle to realize to come back. And eventually you do that, and then eventually it kind of gets to the point where you're not drifting off for an hour. Maybe you're drifting off for a minute. Maybe you're not drifting off for 5 minutes. Maybe it's only a couple seconds now. And you're just always you're always putting the wheel back to the back to the center.
And that's why they call it practice, right?
Because, that's like a practice.
Yeah. And same holds true for anything and everything, like drumming. And I'm trying to learn new rhythms and stuff with my drums, and the term that keeps coming up is muscle memory, and you just talked about that. So like by doing the meditation, those gaps become smaller and smaller and smaller. By doing the drumming becomes faster and faster and faster, and more in rhythm and with the beat and blah blah blah. And then you get to the point. I was doing it on the steering wheel the other day, and I was like, I was just doing it. And I was like, yes, it's happening, right? And so you steered my ship right to a place of what I feel to be a beautiful simplicity. And that is, when this worry comes up, we do what we always do, right? We meet it with loving awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But we can make the decision. We can stay there if we want, if we feel it's going to serve us, or we want to be intimate with it with for whatever reason. But let's say you already are. It's a reoccurring thing that's popping up again. Here comes this worry. It's there. Hello. And then maybe write a check and make it out to love. And then take that love energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put it in the very same place that worry is coming from. Let's say it's your child, right? Something's worrying you about your child. Instead of that, right? Because it's something you can't control. You can do your best as a parent. You can come up with all the things that we do as parents. Maybe in that moment, you can fuel energetically that whole imprint that you're projecting out into the world with love instead of worry.
Yeah.
Because what's ultimately going to serve you and your child best? To worry?
No.
It can't.
Well, I think when it comes to worry, is that there's a part of you that feels that is benefiting from it.
Right.
So there's a part of you that thinks that it needs to, like, let's say,
to keep you safe.
If I don't worry about this, if I'm not prepared for this worst case scenario, then it's going to happen. Or what if I'm unprepared for this and this does happen? So I think what we do is, like you said, we give it loving space, we give it loving awareness, we hold space for it in a loving way. We're like, okay, we can ask, how do I benefit from this? What part of me is benefiting from this worry? And it's like, oh my God, because if I don't go in there and I don't, if I say the wrong thing at work, these bosses coming in today for whatever like that, then I could, I might not get the promotion, or they wait, they're going to judge me and maybe I lose my job or something. So it's like, okay, so it's benefiting you because you don't want to screw up and you feel that you have to really, really rehearse or really make this strong impression on somebody, this boss coming in or whatever. So you have to figure out what part of you is benefiting from that and listen to it. Listen to its advice. And then you can decide, like, okay, I would say thank it. Thank you for looking out. Thank you for, this, because his worry is like, bah, 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 bah. It's like a siren keeps going off
Right.
a lot of times. So you have to like listen to it and with loving, give it space, give it loving compassion for it. Listen to it and take it for its advice. Okay, I hear your advice. I hear what you're saying. Thank you. But however, we both know that if we're not in control, we're both, if we're not calm and collected,
Right.
then that worst case scenario is more likely to happen.
Right.
If we're agitated, we're nervous and we're fearful and we're feeling, and that never makes you better.
Right. Because
Oh,
most worry is just blind, blatant judgment, isn't it?
yeah, blind judgment. Yeah, I think it's judging yourself, and it's
And others. Let's take this boss thing, for instance, or let's say you're going into a meeting room with bosses and you're doing a presentation or whatever, and you're worried about this, right? Instead of perseverating on worry, right? Because that doesn't more properly prepare you. You think
no,
it does.
doesn't.
You're like, okay, I'm going to cover all the facets. Anytime I've ever prepared for like a job interview or a presentation or something, and I've over prepared, I shit the shitter, Ray. Like
Right.
if I just walked into a room and came from the heart and, dare I say, not even prepare, but just go in there, just totally guns ablazing with my passion, what I believe and what I already know, dude, that feels good. I'm not saying don't prepare, because there's definitely
Yeah,
a nice,
I think there's a middle ground in
there's
that.
definitely a very healthy middle ground there for sure. But I think you can overdo it. But I like
Oh,
what you're
100%.
saying. I like what you're saying, because we don't want to suppress any aspects of us, and this is an aspect of that's trying to protect us, right? And we ask it the questions, we give it the space to breathe, and then we introduce this, we write this check of love. And if we put this love into the boss, into the CEO, into everyone else in the room, right? And we I love your exercise that you talked about in the past about, I forgot who it was, and I'm sure you'll remember, laying out the pictures of people.
Ram Dass.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, it was Ram Dass. Laying out the pictures of all different people, like from the people closest to you to the people like that you really don't like to be in the same room with. And then he gives love to all of them, right? And spends a lot of that energetic time and focus on the person furthest down on the list. Right. And that just makes so much sense. So in this scenario, say it's the boss and the CEO, the room full of executives, right? If you spent, let's call it an hour, and that's a lot, but just visualizing each person individually and then collectively, and just feeling yourself like looking into their eyes, feeling yourself like being best buddies with them. I think when you walk into the room, right, to do your presentation, man, you are beaming with a lot more confidence. If you go in there with worry and you go in there with over preparedness, and I got to hit all these things, and if I don't do this, then I'm not going to get the job, and they're not going to be on the promotion, and then my house is going to be gone, blah, 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 right? I think you're screwing yourself.
Yeah, 100%. It's like almost anything, like hitting a golf ball, hitting a baseball. If you go in there and you're loose, but you're prepared, you practiced, but you're loose, you're not saying, okay, how am I holding my bat? How's my grip? How is this? Are my feet too close together or too far apart? Wait, should I, you get too much in your head. how do? You do terrible.
Yeah.
But if you're just relax, you have that faith in yourself, you have that faith in your experience, you know you've done this before, and you know that, you know what, even if you did strike out, is it really gonna matter 5 years from now? Is it
Right.
really,
Right.
then you kind of just relax yourself and just kind of get in that flow. You just do it a million times better than, buying all those thoughts of like, oh my God, what about this? What about that?
Yeah, and I think the over preparedness is different for everybody, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a broad, measurement there.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
not just
subjective.
it's not there's the right word. Um, it's definitely not specific, like just don't over prepare, because you made a great example, baseball, and I've talked with you about baseball. My celebration of baseball and the nightmare of which baseball was to me because of what you're talking about. I had all these coaches to
Mhm.
change this. You need to put your bat here. Don't hold it this way. Put your elbow up. Do this and that. I was an all-star before that happened. Then I went through this whole year or two of just all this injection into here, and it it wasn't doing anything. Sorry, I need to close this Zoom thing out. It wasn't doing anything to help me, and that was poor coaching, because they didn't identify, oh, what we're trying to do here is not helping him, it's hurting him, or we're too much in his head. They just kept pushing it, right? And trying to create something that they wanted versus what I already was. But I see this in, like, let's use modern day, because the Super Bowl is almost upon us. Football, you have these kids out of college that are just prolific, right? And yes, the NFL is a different game, and a
Yeah.
lot of times they're ready to play. A lot of times they're not ready to play, and they just need to watch and learn and stuff like that. But some of them have really, 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 really good rookie seasons, and then they have that they call it the sophomore slump. I think the sophomore slump comes when there's too much good, that it's overload, right? And over
Yeah.
prepare. Okay, and then if I have this,
You
and
have
then
different coaches coming in telling you, you know what? Like look at quarterbacks. That happens a lot, I think, more
this
with
is, yeah.
quarterbacks.
I'm sorry. That's what I was
You
trying to be
you come in
specific
there
with.
and you
Yes.
came in and you were, a first round pick doing really well. And then it's like, okay, we need a tanker with this, and you need to release the ball on this. You need to drop back this many steps now, and change your throwing pattern. And it's like, man, that's, I think that's too, is you see a lot of quarterbacks get kind of screwed up, and then it's too much in their head, and then and then they're scared all the time in the pocket because, oh my God, I'm gonna get hit. And
Yeah.
it's then they have that fear. They're not relaxed. They're not
Right. I'm
just
going to throw an
playing.
interception and get benched, and then no team's ever going to want me again. And I'm going to say one wrong word at a press conference, like my Jets quarterback did. He said no. He said no. And man, he's got a mountain to climb now, thanks to the media and the way the world is. But I mean, here was a kid from BYU and second pick in the draft, and now, like, they talk about him like he's a piece of garbage. It's sad. It's horrible. It's terrible. And you can see the look on his face. He just looks like a confused child.
Yeah,
It really looks. He just looks like he's lost.
I think that's
And
kind of what happened with Baker Mayfield too. Yeah, I think he came in, did good, and then he kind of got different coaches and changed things up, and just never really came back from that.
so how do we reel this all back in and tie this in the last 7 minutes and 12 seconds to what this video was about and how it could pertain to you and I and the rest of our
I
audiences?
would say just be aware of your thoughts as they arise. Watch your thoughts. Become aware of how your thoughts distract you, pull you away from the present moment, create judgment within you, create inner conflict, and be mindful of that. It comes down to mindfulness. And then see, are these thoughts, are they enhancing my life, or are they taking it away? And simple as that. I mean, like you said, this is kind of a short back to basics type of video, but sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to come back to basics, because sometimes we get so lost in the world, or lost in whatever bull crap going on.
I like that very much. My 3 cents would be, listen to and trust yourself, right? Just
Mhm.
listen and trust yourself. Damn, what was the second one? Oh, probably one of the most important things. Have fun and meet everything with love. Everything. Everything. I have been doing this for the past few weeks, on and off, not relentlessly, because we all get lost in the life sauce, right? But every time I stop and do that, right, it transforms my day. Let me back up.
Yeah.
It transports me in the moment to a much more beautiful place, right? And
Right.
then if I keep doing it and I'm mindful, if I start slipping, to reinvest energetically in that, then it turns into a spectacular day. And a lot of us have had really shitty days. And I think where we, I don't want to say fail ourselves, but where we slip in those moments is we keep depositing into that same bank, and it just spirals.
Yeah. We may have like one thing that happens bad to us. We may be, let's say we're late for something, and then
Yeah.
we keep coming back to that. We keep thinking about, oh my God. And we say that, we say, oh my God, this day's already messed up. It was one thing that happened to you out of what, probably 50 things that already, one out of 50 things that happened to you
Yeah.
went wrong. And now
Yeah.
you're going to be like, oh, it's only like 3 o'clock, or it's only like, it could be like 12 o'clock in the day. And like, what, your whole day is ruined just because, you got caught in a traffic jam, or you forgot your lunch, or you
Gosh,
just, or whatever, or it's just,
we say such cruel things to ourselves. I caught myself after watching this video the second time, twice in the kitchen. And I was just doing menial tasks, right? And I was like, do you just hear what you just said to yourself? That is not loving. 3 seconds later, I followed it up with another, and I was like, oh my gosh, John, like this needs to change. Like you
Right.
really need to be gentle with yourself. And in turn, that will spill out into the way you are gentle with others. But it's got to start here. I'm just saying that because I always watch these back, and this is a reminder to myself. And I have been saying this over and over again for the last few weeks. But I think it's huge, man. And it plays in part with this whole writing a check. Right? When you write the check, make it out to yourself, and in the memo, maybe just write, be gentle with yourself. Like none of it, we're all jacked up, we're all effed up in one way or another. None of us have it figured out. So just keep that in mind. Like we're all struggling, and we all just need that one super powerful thing, man. And if we can, give it to others, and that's love. It's love.
Yeah. I say we ended on that. And now
Hell
love.
yeah, dude. 3 minutes left. Heck yeah, man. Deposit that 3 minutes into the bank of Zoom, baby. I'm John with a J.
Phoenix Ray.
We'll see you next time. Get out there, get under the sun, get under a tree, and get under the one you love. See you soon.